Thank you very much for joining us on the interview segment. I am Marianne Bogo. Now today we are talking about something that's on the tip of everyone's tongue but is very, very rarely understood, and that is stress. Everyone talks about stress. And with us is Patrick Wanyoike. He's a wellness and fitness consultant. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Marianne.
And what I'd want us to talk about today is stress in general, stress in detail in terms of what it is and what it can do to us. And firstly, I think this term is very, very, very loosely used.
Unfortunately,
in our society. So what exactly is stress?
Stress is what can make you feel not the way you're feeling if you're feeling happy and feeling good. And it manifests itself depending on circumstances and your reactions to the circumstances.
And you'll hear even children telling you they're stressed, and that's a 4-year-old. And then you hear someone else, an adult, who has to deal with everyday life, telling you they're stressed. What's the difference, and how would one identify this is no big deal, and this is what I am going through now is stress, what I'm going through then is not? Where would you draw a line?
Okay, depending, because even the kid might be rightly saying it, like they're experiencing stress depending on situations. An example would be if my dad comes home and is drunk and is beating my mom every day or making a lot of noise. I, as a 4-year-old kid, have the right to say, I'm so stressed because I have reasons. But then on the other hand, some kids might be saying it just as a part of the sentence,
just
like
term we coin.
Or they're reacting to, you want them to do something, they feel they don't want to, and that is the only way they can say it. Usini stress, Ama, you're stressing me up. For adults, it's different. Some of them are very particular because adulthood, not even adulthood, when you're kind of from 10, 15, 20, depending on where you are, either at work or in school, it's possible to experience stressful situations because there are so many things you're supposed to juggle, and at times you're not very good in that. Or maybe you are going through extreme issues.
And how would you explain the difference between, say, stress, which is the term of our interview, anxiety, pressure? Are they all the same thing? Are there differences? Do they flow into each other?
They kind of come into one thing eventually. Because when you're stressed up, you got a lot of pressure on you. It might be good pressure or bad pressure because at times you want to do something and it has to be done. And you have to do it in a limited time. Or maybe you're a sportsman and you've been training so hard and time has come for you to compete. Or maybe a movie star or a singer and you have your audience there. In between, you're coming from your changing room and going to the audience. That particular time is very, very stressful.
So that is good stress. So there's a difference between good stress and bad stress.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a good thing.
Sometimes it's a good thing because it can make you achieve so much, or it can make you hit the nail where you're supposed to.
So we were talking about if somebody is under pressure over a brief period, like you've talked of a musician going on stage. At that point, then they're under pressure. Are they stressed at that time?
Highly stressed, if I may say. You talk to one of them or two, or maybe 10, and 8 of them are going to tell you, you know what, I'm afraid I shake before I get to the audience. But when they start, that takes over. What you're supposed to do has started. So you don't have a choice. You got to do your best.
So stress and anxiety are the same. Would you say they are the same
If
thing?
you're anxious, sometimes it's due to some things. Like some people are anxious because of silly things. You might be anxious because you don't know where your spouse is or your friend is and they haven't communicated. And at times when it becomes too much and then it becomes stressful, maybe I was with you, you haven't communicated, and I'm fearful enough to think, okay, maybe something really bad has happened to so and so. You get me?
Okay. What, from your practice, you're a wellness and fitness practitioner, and you do a lot of counseling with people who come in with the so-called stress. What would you say are some of the common situations that people come to you with and say, this is what is stressing me and it's driving me up the wall?
I believe two of the major things that I've come across is either work-wise, whether employed or self-employed, and relationships. Yeah.
What others would people come with? And
money issues.
okay.
Maybe somebody's having somebody who's so sick and they don't know how to handle that psychologically. Maybe also their intentions and their dreams have been cut out due to one or two things, and then they don't know what to do next.
Okay. Can one refuse, so to speak, that a person finds themselves in situations, everyday situations, that are constantly stressing them? Is there a way one can block it or can refuse to let it get to them? Or how do you deal with clients who are in situations that they cannot remove themselves from? We'll talk about situations that one can remove themselves from. But one of the biggest examples I've had is traffic jam in Nairobi. You have to sit through traffic jam every single day, and some people say that is just the biggest stress they have to deal with on a daily basis. Can one refuse? Can one decide, wake up one day and decide it will not bother me anymore?
You've used a very good word, refusal, but that is refusal in quotes.
Yes.
Because it's more than refusing, because you need to train yourself. It's very possible to refuse to get stressed up most of the times. And that is by allowing yourself to be able to handle what you can and what you cannot, just let go. You've given an example of traffic jam. If I'm working in the east of Nairobi and I come from the west, I got many choices. I can shift over near to my working place. I can leave home early. You know, early, maybe it's an office, be in the office early enough. It might look weird, but it's far much more better because you can always find things to do. In traffic, you can decide, okay, let me talk to the fella who is in the next car. You can start reading, you can have very good things to listen to, you can listen to the music that you love, and you don't even notice. You know, when you're doing good things, time just passes. You don't notice it.
So it's about circumventing.
Yes, and you're accepting.
And accepting,
Yeah.
I see. So how do you deal with clients in terms of acceptance, in terms of circumventing?
The best thing is to guide them. I'll guide you as a client, but I cannot make you achieve it because it has to come from your mind first. You have to put your mind into that state where, you know, because I cannot do away with this, I have to be able either to attract some other issues, especially at that time when these things is happening, or be able to refuse to get angry about it. No, stress and anger goes together most of the time. Before, if it's a stressful event, most of the times you'll find you get angry and then it becomes a constant thing, and you can call that stress.
And that was what we're going to flow into, the connection or the sequence of stress and anger and what comes after that. How would you say the two are connected?
Stress is due to an event. Anger is the resistance and the refusal of acceptance of the event. Then stress happens to be the feeling that is there constantly after when you think of what has happened. And
how would you train someone to deal with the anger that precedes the stressful event?
Nowadays, it's known that in between any happening and the reaction which we call anger, there is always that very, very, like a very, very thin space where you have a choice to decide not to react in anger. It's possible. To many, it doesn't feel possible, but when you try it, it's there.
Okay. All right.
So the identification, you know, you got to identify and then not react immediately. You need that time to think.
Okay. All right. We are talking to Patrick Wanyoike, a fitness and wellness consultant, and we are talking about stress. Yes. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back.